Hey guys, what is up? I'm Sci-Hi, and tonight I'm excited to take a look at the so-called Orzhov Zombies deck in Historic that I believe was popularized about a month ago, maybe, by Wyatt Darby. This is a really powerful deck that can attack from multiple vectors, can surely go all the way in Mythic. So we'll take a look at the core of the deck and kind of a build of the shell that I would go with. And then we'll explore and take a look at, now that Crimson Vow has been released, we'll look at what kind of Crimson Vow zombies we have and how we could possibly enhance and improve this deck. So without further ado, let's take a look at the deck. So at its core, this of course is a zombie tribal deck. Coming in at the 1-drop slot, we've got the all-powerful Champion of the Perished, which is a 1/1 zombie. Every time another zombie enters the battlefield under our control, this guy gets a +1/+1 counter, so he just keeps growing larger and larger. And as we'll see as we look at the rest of the deck, there are a lot of effects that can put more zombies into play outside of just hard casting more zombies. We've got a lot of tokens being generated that can really get this guy jacked really quick. Also coming in at the 1-drop, we've got just 2 copies of Cryptbreaker. This is another 1/1 zombie 1-drop with an activated ability to discard a card and create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. This won't come up too often. Most of the time what we're looking to do is use the other ability where we can tap 3 untapped zombies we control to draw a card and lose a life. And also, because this is not a tapped ability, keep in mind you can do this even once you cast this guy immediately. That is not an ability affected by Summoning Sickness. But we just have 2 copies of this guy. A lot of decks I've seen run 4, and I mean, I can get behind that, but we have chosen to go with 2 here to make room for some other powerful zombies, which we'll take a look at shortly. But notably, this ability to tap 3 untapped zombies, that doesn't stack. If you just have, that's just one effect. Like, you're not going to be able to get more value by having multiple Cryptbreakers in play. And also, we do have a total of 10 1-drops, so the odds are fairly good that we will have at least one drop in our opening hand to kind of curve out. Not always, but should be good enough odds there. Also coming in the 1-drop spot, we've got the all-powerful Stitcher Supplier, just an all-star for decks that use the graveyard as a resource, which we'll see this deck heavily does. This guy is coming into play, you're milling 3 of your cards, and also when it dies, you're also milling another 3 cards. So one interesting thing that can happen with this is if you cast this on the first turn, on the second turn, it's extremely rare, but we do have 1 copy of Phyrexian Tower. So like a golden draw, you could have 3 mana on your second turn and cast a very powerful Diregraf Colossus, which we'll take a look at now, which is a 2/2 that when it comes into play, it's going to get +1/+1 counters for however many zombie cards are in your graveyard. So if you can use this with Stitcher Supplier, he's going to be very large very quickly. And again, with the Phyrexian Tower, it's even possible to power him into play on the second turn. If you're extremely lucky, you could be dumping 3 creatures, sacking the Supplier to the tower to get 2 mana. You're going to mill 3 more cards. You can get 3 more creatures again, and this guy is going to be huge when he comes into play because maybe you have 5 or 6 zombies in your graveyard. Also extremely powerful, another ability of the Diregraf Colossus is that whenever you cast a zombie spell, you also get to create a tap 2/2 black zombie creature token, which, as we'll see, has a ton of synergy for other cards in the deck, which we can look at right now. Another core of the deck is our white-black zombies in Wayward Servant and Corpse Knight, which these 2 cards fill similar roles, but basically what they're doing is whenever a zombie or creature enters the battlefield under our control, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life with the Wayward Servant. And with the Corpse Knight, it is just any creature entering our battlefield, the opponent's going to lose a life. So with these 2 cards and Diregraf Colossus, you're putting a lot of tokens into play, and we're just casting a lot of zombies. These stack up very quickly, and this is attacking your opponent from another vector outside of just standard attacking and summoning creatures. now we have effects that are causing our opponent to lose life and just take a lot of attrition damage over time. And this is important to make our opponent lose life in this way. You know, for cluttered board states, if we just can't attack through damage conventionally, we can kill our opponent with these. But also, another powerful card in this archetype is Return to the Ranks, which has incredible synergy with these two guys, as we'll see. But Return to the Ranks has Convoke, which means we can tap our creatures to help pay the casting cost of this card. Even the white casting cost fulfillment, we can tap these zombies to help pay for that. But we get to return X target creature cards with mana value 2 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. So what this means is that even at long, drawn-out games with lots of Wrath of God effects, we've had lots of zombies killed, it's been a long, tiresome battle, we can win out of nowhere by returning to the ranks and just dumping tons of our fallen zombies back into play. For instance, just dumping 3 of these guys back into play, I think will trigger 6 damage to your opponent. And it can get even more quickly once you start returning just many mass zombies. You can just lights out your opponent very quickly. Also running out the 2-drop area, the 2-drop casting cost, we've got Undead Augur, just another staple in the archetype. Strong zombie for sure. 2 black, 2/2. Whenever Undead Augur, another zombie we control, dies, we get to draw a card and lose a life. This is fantastic. Just card draw ability to make sure we don't run out of gas and continue to draw cards during the match. And then the last 2-drop, we have a Mire Triton, which is a 2/1 Death Touch zombie. When it enters the battlefield, we mill 2 cards, we gain 2 life. That 2 life is certainly helpful, can be relevant, because we are going to be taking damage from the Augur, as we just saw, but it's very worth it to draw these extra cards. So the Mire Triton is very good also for milling 2 cards in the graveyard. We want to keep stocking our graveyard with zombies so that we can grow our Diregraf Colossus, or have a more strong Diregraf Colossus when we finally do cast it, as well as have a lot of just ammo for our return to the ranks to absolutely dump just as many zombies into play as possible. So that's what Supplier and Triton are doing. They're fulfilling that role of just stocking our graveyard with zombies that we can use. We've already covered the Diregraf Colossus, so now let's take a look at a relatively brand new card from Crimson Vow, which I've decided to go with. Preliminary testing for me has been pretty strong with this. This is the Headless Rider. Pretty sweet artwork for whatever it's worth. But the Headless Rider is pretty dope. It's a 3/1. Whenever a Headless Rider or another non-token zombie we control dies, we create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Now, this card is somewhat similar to the other zombie that has been around for a while, the Midnight Reaper. It's very analogous to this. Similar power and toughness, casting cost, similar effect, although with the Midnight Reaper, I've chosen not to use this because what Midnight Reaper does is whenever one of our zombies would die, we would be dealt the damage and get to draw a card. You know, that's all good, but we already have that effect in Undead Augur, and it's just a little bit, to me, it's gonna be excessive to have that 8 times. Yeah, that could be almost just too much damage, and as good as drawing cards is, you know, it's not going to necessarily win the game for us, whereas the Headless Rider is, whoa, strange little bug here. But with the Headless Rider, instead of drawing cards, our creatures are dying, we're just putting zombie tokens into play. And this is fantastic, as we've already seen, again, with these Corpse Knight and Wayward Servants. When we keep adding zombies to the board, this is just more damage coming through in the form of lost life, which is great against even the 9 lives Solemnity Prison lockout combo. With no removal in the deck, we don't have a way to deal with that outside of making our opponent lose life, because that can't be prevented. So 9 lives doesn't do anything against loss of life. We can kill our opponent that way. Also, with Headless Rider, just in preliminary testing, I've seen some just insane things that this card can do. It can create a huge headache for your opponent. For instance, you have a cluttered board and you're attacking in with everything, and they're faced with a decision, maybe you've put a lot of pressure on them, you attack with a lot of zombies, they're forced to block or they take lethal damage. And in some instances, if they block and kill a lot of your zombies, suddenly you have a whole bunch of new 2/2 token zombies coming into play that are adding more fuel to the fire to trigger loss of life from our Corpse Knight and Wayward Servants. But moreover, just getting all those zombies can even trigger a lights out turn where you make a whole bunch of zombies off of Headless Rider, and suddenly it enables all this mana that you didn't have before, or at least pseudo mana, in Return to the Ranks. And suddenly you can finish your opponent off with this on the back of all these zombie tokens that you've got. So this guy is pretty dope. I think it's a natural fit here. I mean, we don't want too many 3-drops, but I think this is appropriate from what little I've played so far. It's looked pretty powerful. Even in turns where I didn't do as crazy things as I'm describing now, but just getting value and just getting extra zombies, like what's your opponent gonna do? There's so much value happening in this deck, like just between casting cards, things entering the battlefield, things dying. It just feels like you're constantly drawing cards or putting tokens to play, and your opponent is just constantly getting drained from all this activity that's happening. Again, and then we have that beckoning Return to the Ranks lights out game winner for the finishing kill. Now that being said, this deck is extremely vulnerable to exile effects, like Anger of the Gods is potentially one of the worst cards for this deck, because that's going to not only kill your guys, but they're going to be exiled, and so they're not going to go to the graveyard, and they're not going to trigger any of these fantastic effects from the Headless Rider or the Undead Augur that we described earlier. So that's definitely a card to look out for sure. Look out for. You don't want to see that card, but nevertheless, the deck is pretty sweet. Talk about notably absent cards. We've got no removal. In a sense, you can think of Mire Triton as kind of a pseudo creature removal. I know that sounds weird, but Death Touch is absolutely relevant here. It's a really powerful ability. In the mirror, you can block and kill massive Diregraf Colossuses that your opponents may have, but we've got no removal for the first game, or at least in best of one. We're not going to try to guess exactly what we need to remove. We're just going to go straight full zombies and try to keep our graveyard populated and keep the board just cluttered with zombies so we can do a lot of damage. There's other cards you see in these builds a lot. A lot of people run Lazotep Reaver. Totally understandable. The argument is easy to make. This card has a lot of synergy in the deck as well. This, of course, is the 2-drop 1/2. When Lazotep Reaver enters the battlefield, we get to amass 1, or in other words, make a 1/1 zombie token. So that's great for triggering, double triggering these guys and dealing, making your opponent lose more life. And also, it's 2 zombies coming into play to pump up our champion. However, I just feel the Mire Triton is simply better. It's just a better fit here, being that, if we Lazotep Reaver, if we don't have either the Corpse Knight or Wayward Servant or Champion in play, it's not quite as good. So there's kind of a dependency on the card there. And whenever you're analyzing a card, it's important to try to understand and analyze, is it dependent upon other things? I mean, sometimes it may very well be, but it's so powerful it's good anyways. But if we're just comparing this straight up to Mire Triton, I just think Mire Triton's better. We've got better base stats. Death Touch is just huge. It's important to have Death Touch when we don't have removal. It's just a way to power and push through our opponent's creatures, and also have a powerful blocker to be able to kill other things. So we've got no Lazotep Reavers here. Mire Triton won that battle. The mill effect is always going to be good at any state of the game. Again, we just want to keep our graveyard full of stuff so we can use Return to the Ranks to resurrect mass zombies and just blow our opponent out. Then lastly, looking at the lands, again, was nothing too crazy going on here. We've got a suite of a lot of the classic competitive and good Orzhov lands. We got the 1 tower I mentioned. In addition to being able to power out a 3-drop on turn 2, most notably a Diregraf Colossus, we're usually looking to power that out sooner. But this card, just 1 copy. being able to sacrifice a creature can be relevant here because we've got a lot of effects where we get something if a zombie dies. So there could be weird spots in games where you don't have a lot going on and you may actually just want to sack something just to get a trigger if you don't have a lot going on. And then lastly, we just got one floating copy of Castle Locthwain. You have not much to say about this card. It's strong card draw. We can in really grindy matches. It's just a good thing to have, kind of late game to stay relevant and make sure we don't run out of gas too hard and be able to still draw cards. So that's the deck. It's pretty sweet. It's pretty simplistic. Very tight build here. Good curve. Easy, simple mana base. It's a lot of fun. A lot going on. So with that being said, let's take a look. Let's dive into some games and see how this goes. But I gotta say, I mean, zombies, just from a lore perspective, one of my favorite tribes. Just cool. Definitely love zombies. I mean, some people are more vampire people, but I do love me some zombies. So our opponent's going first. It's not a great looking hand. No one drop. We've got 2 return to the ranks, which we really can't do a whole lot with early. It's certainly not unplayable. We're missing white mana. So I'm going to go ahead and mull. I'm not loving the hand. This looks a little bit better. We've got a 1-drop. Our second land will be coming into play tapped if we don't find anything. But anyways, we don't want to go down to 5, so we're going to have to roll this. And it's a little bit hard decision, but I think I may actually just dump this return to the ranks because we really need. It's not a card we can really. It's not very actionable this early in the game, so we'll pitch it for now. Go ahead, drop a supplier. 3 lands. That's not so good. We want to see zombies going into our graveyards, not lands, but. What are you gonna do? No idea where our opponent's up to. Oh, okay, we're ninja style. These unranked games, you see a lot of wild, crazy builds, people testing different decks, so it can be a fun atmosphere to play in sometimes. Just see a lot of cards that you're not familiar with and a lot of crazy combos. But so here's where we're talking about. We have no land, which kind of sucks, but or no land that's going to come into play untapped anyways. So we'll hang back and try to block. We don't want this guy hitting us again. Whenever he deals damage to a player, exile up to 2 target cards from the player's graveyard. Well, that's no good at all against us. We want to keep our zombies in the graveyard. No 3rd land. Not the greatest. So we'll just drop a servant, which is slightly better than the knight because this actually gains us life, where the knight only causes our opponent to lose life. Then we'll just pass. And we really need to draw a land. He's going to get bounced. So, gotta block the Skull Snatcher. Assume there's going to be some sort of a trick, ninjutsu, snafu, shenanigans. Ornithopter. They got the Okiba Gang Shinobi. I must discard 2 cards. Ouch. And I'm gonna go with just a Rider and a Colossus. That hurts. There's a land. At least we are populating our graveyard with all that discard, so I might try to just dump a powerful Colossus now. Hopefully we can try to start bullying our opponent a little bit. Want to use all my mana that turn. This guy's definitely pretty large already. And we would love to get some triggers off of him if we can hard cast some more zombies next turn and try to get some free tokens. Looks like we might have another ninjutsu. The old classic Ninja of the Deep Hours this time, allowing our opponent to draw a card. Gonna bounce Colossus again. Alright, now we could go Servant, Supplier, but I still just really want to get this out. That's the most powerful thing I really have going on right now. By the way, guys, if you like my content, please like and subscribe, comment. Let me know what other things you want to see. We'll be improving the channel. It's just getting started. Got a lot of things to improve planned. Microphone, video, etc., animations, whole 9 yards. But any likes and subscribes you can offer up, I do appreciate it. So they're coming in with 2 more ninjas. We certainly want to block the Shinobi. We'd rather they just draw 1 card than we discard 2 cards. So go ahead and block that dude. We're going to draw another card. Okay, so now with the Godless Shrine, we could play 2 of our staple cards to try to get some life loss triggers going, which looks like the play to me. Of course, we're going to get our Colossus triggers as well, provided our opponent doesn't bounce or get rid of this guy somehow. So we'll send him in, see what happens. Gonna garner an Ornithopter chump block. And we got an end of turn Raise and Borrow or cast on my end step. Thoughtseize is gonna empty my hand. And we're really close to dying from the air now. Undead Augur is almost a little too dangerous, but you know, to lose more life. But it will at least cause us to gain a life here and get another trigger. And it looks like that's going to be enough. Overpowered our opponent at this point. Yeah, so it's a powerful tribe. I mean, you know, you maybe have already seen other YouTube videos of a lot of people having success with this deck, taking it really far, you know, all the way to the top 10 Mythic, even if briefly. But it's a fun deck for sure. Just a really fun tribe. I'd love to know what you guys think of other potential zombies that I may have overlooked. I've only really looked at things that could go maybe in an Orzhov build, but I know there's some new blue zombies as well that could be interesting. So we're on the draw. Another no 1-drop hand unless we draw one. But this looks okay. We've got some powerful things after the first turn, so we'll keep. Sarah Ascendant could be like a crazy mono white gain life deck. Those are always pretty cool. And cool, we did draw a 1-drop, so we'll go ahead and lead with our Supplier. 1 zombie in the graveyard. He's gonna fall into a hole, never to be seen again. So now we could go Knight or Undead Augur. And I think I'm going to start with the Knight. Being that I don't need a lot of cards right now, I'd rather just start getting life loss triggers. But maybe they've got another portable hole this guy's going to stumble into. Oh no, it looks like a main deck Lurrus. Big fan of main deck Lurrus. Had a lot of success just abusing that card in Standard back when Ikoria was first released. Just such a bomb card. So much application in so many decks through Magic's wide array of formats all the way back to Modern, even Legacy. This thing is just dope. But anyways, let's see. It looks like we're probably going to want to play a 3-drop here, maximize our mana. So we could go a modest-sized Colossus or a Rider, but I think I'm going to go ahead and get our Colossus in play so we can hopefully get some more triggers going. I'm just going to pre-combat play him to get the trigger. I could consider trading a Knight with a Lurrus, which I would be, I think, happy to do. So, or it's possible they chump and just replay the Ascendant. But that would cause some resources. I mean, I'm going to go for it and see what happens. That may be what they do, but they may just take it if they don't want to devote the 1 mana next turn to get this guy back. But no, it looks like they are going to chump block it, which makes sense with the Lurrus on board. They're going to already generate value with it, and I did allow my opponent to gain a life. But there's Adeline. Extremely powerful new human. It's a little scary to see. But I think it's Headless Rider time. Let's go ahead and dump this guy. See what happens. So now, not much value to attack here. You know, we're going to lose some guys, but get tokens, not as good as what we have in play, so I'm going to have to pull back. There's an Authority of the Consuls, so all of our zombies are going to be coming into play tapped, and they're going to gain a life every time we play a creature, so that's going to be strong for them. That's going to negate a lot of damage that we can potentially do. The Rider is going to get fatefully absenced, while we get a clue. Much rather have the Rider, but so Adeline is pretty scary. It's 3 mana, so they can't recast it from Lurrus. At the very least, we're gonna use the Knight to block the token, but could consider double blocking Adeline just out of respect for how powerful the card is, and we can always get our creatures back. I think I would like to double block and kill this. Just kind of afraid of this card right now. And you know, dying isn't the worst thing. We've got ways to get our guys back, and we should get some triggers. We should get some tokens from this. We are growing our opponent's life total. We've got to be careful. If they get to 30 or more, this Sarah Ascendant's going to come online and whoop our ass. We are starting to amass a healthy amount of tokens, though. I could go... remember, I guess these do not trigger when my tokens die, but probably want to get another Rider in play, and then, but I think to start off we'll just attack with everything. They're going to chump that again, of course, because they can get it back. Well, playing a Rider to use 3 mana, and then we can see what we can play next turn. So that was probably a mistake on my part. I should have considered holding one guy back to prevent Lurrus from attacking, because that was a net exchange of 6 life. They dealt 3 to us, they gained 3, so that was definitely an error recognized. I should have kept one of these guys back, I think, to prevent that. But at least we recognize that we're not going to play perfect all the time. We're just trying out and experimenting a new deck, but good thing to note. So this turn, we're going to want to get some attacks in again. The Augur, our life's getting pretty low. So we might want to start to pad our life total a little bit with Triton. But firstly, we'll go ahead and attack with everything except for the Rider, I think. Obviously, we don't want to trade the Rider with the Ascendant, but we want to get in for some damage here. Keep their life total in check. Thinking it might be a double Triton turn. I did forget that these do come into play tapped, which is unfortunate. So now our only blocker is the Rider, but I would be happy to trade that with the Lurrus. So could just go Supplier and then not take 2 damage from the Shrine, but I think I'm going to take the 2 damage and just commit another Triton on board. Get our 2 life. Try to keep filling up the board with zombies. Keep growing our horde. There's another portable hole. Luckily, that can't hit our Rider. But it will exile a guy. And that seems silly. I don't know. Would have made a lot more sense for them to exile a Triton there rather than a token, because I'm not going to get a zombie token triggered off an exile effect, but our opponent may not realize that. So now I could go ahead and crack a clue, see what we find. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that to see if we could draw something super relevant like a Rally the Ranks or a card to resurrect all of our guys. So we'll go ahead and crack a clue here, see what options this hand has. That's just going to find a tower. So it's possible that I probably just want to attack with... I want to keep at least 1 Triton back to block the Lurrus or the Rider. Could just keep him back again. Get really aggressive here. Come in like this. This guy is going to die, but just keep up the pressure. So I really should have played Augur first to generate the card draw there. When they do block and kill this, would have been very pertinent. But we are going to get some more tokens, so that's a good thing. a Book of Exalted Deeds. So they are going to attack with Lurrus here. And I'm happy to block and get him off the battlefield. More triggers. Just look at the value that this deck generates. But they are going to gain life and get an angel token off of their book. So now we could go and do a lot of things actually. We can start with a Colossus. Followed by a Knight. And you can keep up the pressure. I'm not valuing this Augur too much. Yeah, I'll get to draw a card. Just want to try to keep going wide. We've got to keep chipping away our opponent's life. We really don't want them to get to 30 life. That they would surely kill us quickly then. We wouldn't be able to outrace a 6/6 lifelink flyer. Their opponent draws another land, and see, if I were them, it would make sense to just hold that in their hand. There's no reason to really cast that. They may as well keep it and at least keep me guessing and worry that maybe they have something. So there's a return to the ranks. That should be pretty much lights out here, but they're dead anyways on board, so all we gotta do is attack in here. That should do it. But as you can see, this return to the ranks would have been absolutely filthy, and they're not dead because, oh right, because they can't lose the game, your opponents can't win the game. Doi! And we have no removal in the deck, so that's actually their game. Well played, sir. I forgot that they activated that on that. But yeah, caught with our pants down, no removal in the deck, no way to actually cause them to lose. GG. A little bit of an unconventional game there. Surely in a best of 3 we would be sided in removal, knowing that they can do that to us. But a little over cocky, looking pretty silly there, but still happy with the deck's power and just way to get so much value out of the cards, really. Kind of stalled in the beginning a little bit there. If we had seen a return to the ranks a lot earlier, we would have been absolutely lights out. A little bit of kind of an unfortunate drawing, but next game, we're on the play. Got 2 champions, which is great. Maybe our opponent's psychic and knew that they were in our hands, so they're going to prematurely bail. You never really know. On the play, we've got a Stitcher Supplier, a lot of our engines, Life Loss engines is online, looks good, we'll keep. Opponent's gonna take a mull. Find 1 zombie. Gonna innocent blood us first turn, sacking our creature. Actually, just gonna take the life loss and dump a servant into play. Servant being just again marginally better than the Corpse Knight, because this one actually lets us gain life, but he's gonna get sacked again. More innocent blood. Gonna get Thoughtseize now. Interesting to go for the Knight. Would have gone for a servant, but say it's the marginal things. So this game has been like hyper minimalized now with not a lot of resources, being that they were on a bowl and they've kind of eviscerated our hand. So here we go. Corpse Knight, get some triggers, and dump the Triton out. Heal up our graveyard. And no attacks. Not gonna attack into that. So we could just trade with a Triton. Certainly don't want to get any double blocking. They could just split the damage, kill both of our guys. So I think we're happy to just trade a Triton for Aetherborn here. There's a Cryptbreaker, that's good to see right now in this spot to try to draw into some cards. And I'm considering just main phasing, doing this immediately to try to draw something to play this turn. And we find a Supplier, go ahead and run him out. Graveyard's looking healthy, loaded with a lot of zombies. We haven't lost any of our return to the ranks, and our opponent can't find anything and drops. Let's keep going. See if we can get a better matchup going here. Alright, no second land that doesn't come into play tapped, because we don't have a natural swamp to combo with the castle, but we're on the draw. We could draw something. We still have a turn 1 Supplier, so we'll keep it. Hopefully we see another land so we can make a turn 2 play. I mean, I could consider dropping the castle now so that next turn I could play a 2-drop, which could be stronger than gambling and doing the Supplier now. I mean, this is... Obviously, if we draw a third land, it would be better just get the Supplier out now, but given how this is going, I'm just going to go on the safe side and just dump the castle now, because I don't feel very lucky right now that we're going to see a land that doesn't come into play tap. So now we could go, I kind of want to go Augur here because I want to potentially draw cards and try to find another land. Generally, Corpse Knight and getting this engine of life loss would be my first play, but the Augur is not that good, especially if we want to try to draw cards, but starting to fall behind a little bit. Our opponent using Growth Spiral to power out, get to 4 lands already. Looks like kind of maybe a Bant control build. mean, I could go plains here, because we do need 2 plains for Return to the Ranks, but it can also convoke. I just kind of want more swamps. What I've played this deck so far, we're heavy black. Our opponent could have Wrath effects where Headless Rider could be good. First, we'll just start off with an attack, and we'll go ahead and secure the Rider into play now. Another thing I failed to mention in the deck tech initial section of this video, the Headless Rider is great after a Wrath of God effect on like the 4th turn. If you can just get in a whole bunch of zombies, it's like, okay, your opponent's great, they clear the board, but not really, because you're getting all these zombies to come back and potentially just attack back for lethal. It can be pretty powerful. I'm just gonna get a Corpse Knight in now. Attack. Go with another Augur. Get that trigger. So now if our creatures die, a lot will happen, but what we don't want is our creatures to get exiled, which, given what our opponent is on, they could have effects. They could have the card where we attack and they force us to exile all of our creatures. So we can kind of worried about attacking with everything. That would be really bad. So we have to kind of think about being a little conservative here, as much as that sucks. But before I attack, I want to continue getting some triggers off the Corpse Knight. So we're casting zombies. Get our graveyard loaded up. So hopefully we can maybe rally the ranks. Our opponent's got a lot of mana back. They could have that card that forces us to exile all attacking creatures, or at least put them on the bottom of the library, whatever the card does. We've got 3 zombies. Could potentially rally in all 3 of these guys to get some more damage triggers, and then we could try attacking and see what happens. Auto attack looks okay. That's a lot of damage. So we'll attack with these 3 guys. Maybe they've got the card, maybe they don't, but try to push some more damage through. Looks like they don't. There's an Ugin, that will do it. That will exile everything. So now we're going to have to try to rebuild as fast as possible. Play Triton, try to fill up our... That's not good. We really wanted to draw that Return to the Ranks.
Consider this a warning.
So, that might do it. That's gonna do it. Hopefully. Yeah, the only way we were gonna get out of that was we would have had to find another Return to the Ranks with stuff in our graveyard ASAP and just get some more triggers to kill. I may have missed something there where... Not sure if we could have won. The Ugin just came down in the right in the nick of time for them. to totally reverse course of the game. But at least you got to see kind of just the power of the compounding triggers in action. So running into a little bit of some bad luck. Opponents has milled and they've got a Lurrus Companion. This hand looks fine. Goose action. Champion. It's like a food build. Food sacrifice. So I think we'll just play a servant here and then attack with our pumped champion. Or not, he's gonna get pushed off a cliff. Deadly Dispute. Opponent's churning through cards. Shambling Ghast. Another fellow zombie. Now we could have a baby Colossus, or we could do a Corpse Knight followed by a Supplier, and then hopefully have a bigger Colossus next turn with ammo being supplied into our graveyard from the Supplier. That seems like the line, I think. So I'll just go Pathway. Don't really want to attack, so I don't really want to lose anything. So I'll just go Knight Supplier. Getting them triggers. So we've managed to stack 4 zombies in, so of course I don't want to attack with the Servant because they could block with the Ghast and then kill the Servant with the -2/-2 counter. As it is, they may still be able to kill. Looks like they're going to go for my Supplier, which could turn out in our favor and find 2 more zombies. So this Colossus is going to be colossal. Dopey pun intended. But, I mean, our opponent has answers to it, potentially. And now they've got the Cauldron Familiar, Witch's Oven combo online, so that can chump block for days. One of the most annoying interactions, or maybe it's your favorite interaction, depending on how you like the deck. But so I think we still want a Colossus in play. It's so powerful. We can keep generating tokens. So I still want to cast it. Although we are, I think, safe to just run an attack. I have a mana. I guess we'll just pre-combat dump the Colossus. Let's get these triggers in now. Let's see if we can provoke any action from them, but play the Cryptbreaker, get some more triggers. So I can attack with both, or it could be they're gonna undoubtedly block one and only I could do 2 damage, so it's kind of like, is 2 damage worth not being able to activate Cryptbreaker? Given our opponent's at 12, I kind of feel like it is. I just want to try to kill them at this point. Try to close the game before they can find too much craziness. They are going to actually chump block both. And of course, sacking their cat. They're putting the cat in the oven after the block is declared so that they can still block and prevent the damage. They're going to get a Trail of Crumbs activation, finding the Satanic Squirrel. Which is starting to prove itself as a scary force in Historic. Well, not starting to, I think it already has, but... So once again, what does the squirrel do? You can whenever they sacrifice an artifact or a creature, the squirrel grows bigger with 1 counter, and they can activate to sacrifice an artifact or creature, which will allow them to gain a life and draw a card. So we're gonna I'm gonna just play a Corpse Knight now, get these triggers to happen. Just get as much life loss as possible. Opponent they have no mana available. Just a potential chump block, so I'm gonna swing in with everything here. All in. So they're gonna sack him first, pumping their squirrel. They do have multiple food to keep getting that back. This is the powerful engine, but I'm gonna take a little bit of damage, go to 3. And I don't really know what the tower does for me right here, so I'm gonna hold it back. I don't have anything that is affected by me having a creature die, so this doesn't really do anything for me right now, so I'm just gonna hold it in my hand and bluff posture, at least like I have something more relevant than a Phyrexian Tower in my hand, because they don't know what I have. We know that it's crap and not gonna do anything here, but they do not. And there's a Massacre, so this could be a lot of damage. Yeah, that hurts a lot. I even thought about possibly incorporating a Massacre in the zombie archetype but the problem is, okay, that's a huge, big draw there. So they've got a food, so they can just get the familiar back to chump back our Colossus, but we can potentially, with the tower, what do we got going on in here? We've got 4 of these guys. We can potentially get back 4 of those guys and do a lot of damage here. So 4 of our Corpse Knight style cards. We'll go for that. Deal. Should be enough, but I think they could have sacked and got the cat back and gained a life, and had been at 1. Or no, I'm not. That's incorrect. They're just dead. So that's the power of the deck. I think Return to the Ranks definitely, showed itself off at the end there. It's a pretty dope card. It kind of has throwbacks to, I'm going to date myself here, but the old Patriarch's Bidding, I think, was an old standard Goblins deck that is kind of similar to this, where you have an aggro strategy going, but you have a backup plan of just resurrecting all of your guys back with Patriarch's Bidding. In this case, it's Return to the Ranks, which is super flexible with the Convoke ability. So anyways, guys, that is Historic Zombies. I think it looks good with this, the Headless Rider dude is pretty dope. I think it makes a lot of sense in this deck. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe as we start to grow this channel. It's just in its infancy. Let me know what kind of zombie decks you guys are running, or if you have any other ideas of how we can evolve this strategy. I'd love to hear from you. But anyways, guys, good luck on the ladder. I'm Sci-Hi. Peace out.